Hi, my name is John Heusler, and I'm a jeweler, gemologist, and lapidarist for the past 50 years. And today we're going to be making a pendant out of sterling silver, a little bit of gold. And I'm going to utilize the Sunstone Welder Orion 150s for the entirety and not use a torch at all. I'm going to use 20 gauge sterling silver. All right, so now we're going to put a hallmark, our quality mark of the metal, as well as my logo. Okay, so there's our stamp. Okay, so now I'm going to dome this piece. Now for texturing. Okay. Well, the dome looks real good. Well, I want to mark some of the areas that I want to apply some prongs, so to speak. And now I'm going to start drilling. There it goes. Just how we want it. Okay, now I've got fingerprints and oil all over that, and that's not going to do well with our welding. So I'm going to clean this in a sonic cleaner. Doesn't take but a second or two. This actually is pressurized steam and about 80 pounds of pressure. I've got some 18 karat yellow gold wire, and we're going to use 15 watt seconds, 100% length, no agitation on S+. We're going to ball up the end of this round wire and see how well this does. This is just so fine. Okay, we're going to cut this off pretty close to flush, maybe about 1 millimeter out. I don't think anything in the world could be more perfect than that. That is the most perfect weld you could ever imagine. I clean this. Just a perfect ball. Doesn't get much better than that. I love this welder. Okay, so the project's coming along nicely. Sterling silver 18 karat. I've drilled a bunch of holes in here. I've added some gold beads, if you will, where we balled up the 18 gauge round wire and we put it through and we welded it on the back. And ultimately I've got some prongs, 3 different prongs in here, if you will, where I've welded just 18 gauge wire from the back, and it's sticking up just a little bit, enough for me to apply some freshwater pearls. And some of these are silver beads, some of these are gold beads, a little bit different size, a little bigger. I did one very textured right here, and I'm gonna want to clean this whole thing up and take a look and see if I like that. If I don't, I'll just hit it with probably 15 to 20 watt seconds and just make it into a ball. We're going to do a faceted stone next in a tube. So we're going to go for a tube setting, and I've got my tubing here. It's 18 karat gold. I'm going to add a little sleeve on the inside and make a little seat. Get that to push up there just a little bit. Good weld. Okay, those look pretty good. Okay, so I've selected my burr. That should be just about the right size. So what we're going to do here is spin this. I'm going to push it down. You can see what I've done. I've got a nice little seat going. We're going to spin it, and we're just going to push. Now, what we're going to do is to burnish this in place. So what we're going to do is to just gently turn this and push down. You can see what's happening. Okay, we've sanded that all down. The stone is nice and set, and I've got my saw frame here. There it goes. And here's our finished set stone that we're going to put on this piece. And so we're ready to go on to finishing the bail, and that'll be our next step. I've got my wire ready to make a bail. This is probably, I don't know, what, about 3 inches long. Okay, so we're going to weld this on one side, and then I'm going to kind of compress some of these curls and bring this around. That's going to be big enough for most any chain to fit through, and it can always be adjusted even further. So we are going to weld this. I put a flat spot, filed it flat on the round wire so I gain more contact, and we're going to tack it right here. And I'm going to do one more. Okay. We're going to add a little bit of metal. Pretty darn strong. That's plenty of metal. So now we're going to move it a little bit. And I'll make a real easy cleanup. Excellent. Nice and strong, very strong. Yeah, good and stiff, good and stout. Okay, we're really liking how this is looking, and we're going to start cleaning it up. But I'm going to knock down some of these nubs. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more cleanup on this, and I'm going to use these radial abrasive discs. Here it is out of the magnetic finisher. Brighten it all up beautifully. I'm going to add this stone that we bezel set in the flex shaft, kind of a third of the way in, maybe halfway in. I'm going to do that with a rat tail file. Okay, normally I file from the top, but I'm going to file from the bottom so you can see it better. All right, so we're going to get in, we're going to weld that. We're going to weld just from the back. We're not going to do any welding from the front. All right, so we're going to weld at about 10 watt seconds. And I'm going to touch the silver and the gold piece at the same time. And I'm going to bring the gold up a little bit higher than the silver. I think that'll give us a better bond. I'm real pleased with that. Okay, now I'll clean it. You can see that weld is very clean. Okay, so this is a sensitive stone, and 1 or 2 welds isn't going to hurt that stone nearby it. But if I were to weld all the way around something like that, and all at once, you know, boom, 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 that might heat up a little too much for that stone. So you kind of want to be a little bit more careful of that. So now I am going to fill in these little spots. Perfect, love that. And the other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be pushing too hard. If you push too hard, your electrode's going to come back and not spark at the right spot or the right timing, and then it might come back into a pool of molten metal and stick. So you definitely want the lightest touch possible, like you're barely touching. Okay, and I'm going to add just a little bit of metal right in the corners. I'll smooth that out. Very clean welds. Very happy. We got the project finally finished, and I had chosen subject matter to utilize strictly the welder. And we used the 150s Orion model from Sunstone Welders, and no torch was used whatsoever in the finishing of this piece. And that's a little bit of a challenge to me. because I'm a torch guy, making jewelry for quite a long time, and I love my torch. I really do. But ultimately, if I were to fire up my torch and build this piece, it probably would have taken me 3 times as long, because we have to pick up a piece, we anneal it, we were soldering it, pickling, waiting for that process, and then polishing in the beginning stages, medium stages, a lot of sanding and filing. And I chose a piece that we could just texture. We could put it in a magnetic finishing, tumbling unit, and liver sulfur finish. I added some pearls. As you can see, freshwater button pearls. All of these are button pearls, which means they're slightly flattish on the back, so they sit a little closer to your project. And they're half drilled, and so those pegs that we put into here, they just slid right on and into place. I did some gold sections in here, and I did some silver sections as well. And ultimately, I really love how this turned out. This bail is really kind of my signature kind of a bail. I double taper a wire. And this particular liver sulfur method, I heated up the solution to about 170, 180 degrees, and I put it in for about, usually less than 3 minutes, does the trick, and turned out really, really nice. So the thing that I loved about this Orion welder is that I could set that stone before I put it in the mounting. That way I wouldn't have to put it in jet set or plastiform or any of those other things to hold this, and I wouldn't be marring it up. I wouldn't have to put heat to it to get it out. And I set that stone and I welded it right into place. Boom, finished. I love that. And again, the best part, not a single torch was lit in this process. Scott Peart, he is with Sunstone Welders, is here, and he gave me lots of pointers. I'm fairly new to the welder industry. And so when Scott came, he goes, oh no, here, we need to do it this way. And this gets this much, and that gets that much. And before you know it, I'm telling him, should I be putting this at this setting? And he says, yeah, dead on. You're right on there. So it's fairly quick and easy. And I plan on writing an article about this particular welder in Lapidary Journal, Jewelry Artist Magazine. And that'll be out sometime this coming year. And I hope you look for it. And I really appreciate you sticking with us throughout this whole project.